Made it to St. George. Wow. I'm in the same spot that I first camped in my previous RV. I actually spent a fair amount of time here. It feels a little bit like a homecoming to come back to this spot. Yeah. Well, I'm finally on the road. I'm on my way down to St. George. I just filled up. I dumped my tanks. Turns out there is a relatively new gas station. It has an RV dump station not too far from where I was staying at my sister's place. So, and the freeway entrance is just around the corner from here. Chevron. Oh crud, I just remembered I haven't checked the straps on my scooter. Every time I go, they tend to loosen a little bit, and so I always go and check them. I've got two 500-pound rated straps that hold my scooter down. And I'm just gonna go check them really quick. On the scooter, it's a little bit loose, so I just like to check the tension just to make sure that all looks good. Okay, so I just went and checked them and they were fine. I just tightened them a little bit. Just filled up. So what I did was I drove about 50 miles, almost exactly 50 miles, and then I'm just pulling out very carefully. I don't want the back of the RV to hit anything. And then I went 50 miles, and then I just determined my gas mileage by filling the gas tank all the way back up to the top, which is what I did when I left. And so here I just filled up by putting in 3.1 gallons. And if this is correct, I'm going to have to determine this more so over time. That was about 16 miles to the gallon, which is actually kind of amazing for an RV. I'm going to have to, obviously recheck that. But I was going about 60 miles an hour. Trucks were passing me all over the place. I always get a little bit self-conscious about that, but that's pretty amazing. So I'm in a little town called Nephi, which is really at the very bottom of the Wasatch Front. So it's really the last little part of the Wasatch Front. And then we're now moving into central Utah, and there won't be another town for a ways. I'm going to go to Beaver. So Beaver is really the next sort of town, although there are some stopping points for getting gas that I could stop off at any point. But I'm going to try and get down to Beaver and sort of do another redetermination of how much, gas I used. But at least that's encouraging. I'm going to try and stick to around 55 to 60. And the good thing is at this point, traffic is going to be less heavy. I really want to get down to Cedar City tonight. That's my goal. Well, that was the first summit, and I actually overtook a trucker. It smells like cows out here. This is one of the things about being in these rural areas that I find kind of hilarious, is some of the rural smells you also get. It's like when I go up to Idaho, especially Twin Falls, there's a definite sort of pervasive smell of cows up there. So we're about to go over another of the passes. When I left in my first RV, I left from my sister's place, which is where I was at. Looking back at that first RV, I was so nervous. I was so scared. Like I had bought the scooter rack that I have now, the exact same model, and I had that thing for a couple months before I put it on, because I was just anxious. It's so silly about putting it on. So I just stopped at this gas station in the middle of nowhere just to kind of cool down. There's my little cute RV. So there's a pass, which you can see up there. It's probably going to push the RV a little bit. So I decided to stop, just let the RV sort of cool down, although its temps are totally normal. Because I'm getting ready to go over a little bit of a pass, which you can see off in the distance. Oh God, that's nasty. A dip. Oh, I hope I don't bottom out. Nope, it was okay. Oh my God, there are ostriches over there. How random is that? It's like a little ostrich farm. There are ostriches over there. That's hilarious. How completely random. That's really funny. Whenever I get to this stretch of road right here, this valley, this agricultural type of valley, It's 30 miles away from Cedar City, but it always makes me feel like I'm just about to Cedar City. So I always like coming into this valley. It feels like the final stretch before I get there. Cedar City, 32. Okay, and here comes my exit. In fact, I'm passing right by the area that I'll be parking. And the Vasa Fitness is just right around here. Yep, there it is. I can see the Vasa Fitness I'll be going to in the morning. South Main, exit 57. And I actually identified another motel just on the other side of the freeway, a hop, skip, and a jump from here, that looked like it had a good parking space. But I'm not going to do it tonight. I'm going to go to where I know. Starbucks I go to the right. You can't see it in the view here. And right here is the spot. This is the very first boondocking spot I ever camped at in my previous RV. It's right by my gym. Ta-da! So I spent the day in Cedar City. Actually, I got there last night and decided to get down here quicker. The wind was starting to pick up there, and it was a little bit windy on the way down. So I always like to come and check my straps before I make sure they're not too loose. There's a couple times I've driven and they got really loose and the scooter was actually a little bit slack. But it is fine. I have to pull this in. I'll plug the RV into my power unit. And I always have to remember to pack that up. Close these. I always shut these windows. Well, here I am getting on the freeway on my way to St. George. I was kind of hoping to maybe stay a couple more days, but the weather is not going to accommodate. The weather tomorrow is turning sour, and it's supposed to be snowing here on Sunday. So, yeah, I can't do that. I mean, I've been in my RV, my previous one, when it was sub-zero for, you know, some bursts of time, but I just don't want to risk it. But it was a nice drive. I felt a little bit bad because I'm only kind of going 60. I'm just trying to figure out where the sweet spot is in this new RV. I'm trying to maintain about 60, and there are people, tons of trucks going around me. I gotta tell you, I feel kind of guilty, but at the same time, I'm trying to sort of determine what the gas mileage is on this thing, going a very consistent speed for this trip. So I'm just kind of maintaining that. It's electronic fuel injected, whereas my previous RV was just carbureted. And it is interesting because I had a Chevy before, and to kind of see the difference between the two vehicles, how they sort of behave. I mean, this drives really nicely. I'm really impressed with how this Ford drives. hell, it's warmer here. I can feel it. And this is, I think, St. George Boulevard. This is sort of the main old thoroughfare of St. George. Gas is a bit more expensive here, unfortunately. My favorite laundromat is just down the street, and I need to do laundry. So I'll probably do that tomorrow. So off to the right, you can't see it on the camera, is a spot that I've stayed at a handful of times. I'll probably go back there because I'll be cycling between spots. It's technically legal to do this in St. George. I talked to a police officer when I was here a couple of years ago. Spot is wide open. I've actually seen some RVs here before, not too often. And here we are. So yeah, it's nice to be here, but on Sunday it's going to drop down to only 59 degrees during the day here, and it was going to be just barely above freezing up in Cedar City. I would like to have spent a couple more days there. There are some kind of interesting things up in Cedar City that I had hoped to explore.